Hello, everyone. It's Peter here. If you're new to these little chats of mine, welcome. If you're a regular, well, you know I don't do this for the glamour, though God knows I've had my share of that lately. No, I do it because sometimes, late at night when the world's gone quiet, I think about the stories we tell ourselves to keep going. The ones that whisper, hang in there, it's not all for nothing. And today, I want to share one of my... It's a story I haven't told in quite this way before. Not even in those glossy interviews where they want the punchy highlights. This one's quieter, messier, more like the real scrape of life against your skin. I call it the restaurant job that changed everything. And before you start picturing some dramatic montage with swelling strings and a voiceover about destiny knocking, let me pull you back. It's the story of a man in his late 20s, me, if you must know, staring down the barrel of a dream that felt more like a ghost than a goal. It's about the kind of stuck that seeps into your bones, the monotony that makes you question if you're even visible anymore. And it's about one tiny moment so small you could miss it if you blinked, that cracked open a door I'd almost forgotten who was there. Let me take you back. God, it's been, what, almost 30 years now? Feels like yesterday and a lifetime ago all at once. I grew up in New Jersey, in a town called Mendham, the kind of place where everyone knows your name but not quite what to make of you. My parents were teachers, my dad taught English, my mom art, and they filled our house with stories, books everywhere. Dickens, Twain, those big sprawling worlds where the underdogs got their shot. But from the start, I knew I was different. Achondroplasia, they call it, the most common form of dwarfism, 4'5" my whole life, give or take. Kids can be cruel, sure, but it was the quiet judgments that stung more, the way adults would avert their eye like you were a puzzle they didn't want to solve. Still, I found theater early, high school plays mostly. I remember auditioning for Our Town as a freshman. Thornton Wilder, you know, that beautiful, aching portrait of small lives adding up to something vast. I got cast as the stage manager's understudy, but I soaked it in anyway, watching from the wings, feeling that rush when the lights hit, and suddenly, you're not just you anymore. You're part of something alive. College. Bennington, a little liberal arts school in Vermont. I was directing, acting, writing, fell in love with Beckett, especially Waiting for Godot. Those two tramps, Vladimir and Estragon, shuffling around that barren road waiting for Godot who never shows. It hit me hard. Life's this endless wait, isn't it? But you keep the banter going, keep hoping, because what else is there? Graduation came in 1991, and like every wide-eyed drama kid before me, I packed a bag and headed to New York. The city of dreams, they say. More like the city of deferred dreams, if you ask me. I crashed on friends' couches at first, then sublets that smelled like regret and Auditions were cattle calls. Hundreds of us in a drafty church basement belting out monologue from Hamlet or A Streetcar Named Desire, hoping some casting director would see past the height chart. I booked a few things, a commercial here, an off Broadway bit part there, nothing that paid the rent. And rent, let me tell you, doesn't care about your artistic soul. Money dried up fast. I took what I could. Data entry gigs, moving furniture for theater companies, even a stint walking dogs in the village. But by 93, I was scraping bottom. Bills piled like unread scripts on my agent's desk. I remember standing in my tiny East Village walk-up, staring at an eviction notice taped to the door, thinking, Peter, this is it! The dream starving you ain't. Or I found it, depending on how you look at it. It was a place called La Bella Vita, ironic name, the beautiful life, when it was anything but an Italian joint in the theater district, the kind tourists flock to for overpriced carbonara and waiters who quote The Godfather like it's Shakespeare. I'd passed it 100 times on my way to auditions at the public theater, always averting my eyes from the help wanted sign in the window. But desperation has a way of sharpening your peripheral vision. One rainy Tuesday, I walked in, resume in hand, though what good is a headshot for bussing tables, and asked for the manager. Her name was Rosa, a firecracker of a woman from Nichols, with hair like coiled springs and an accent that could curdle milk if she was moved. She sized me up in about 3 seconds flat, not with pity, but with that practical immigrant gaze. You work hard, no drama? I nodded, lied a little about my experience. Oh yeah, summers at my uncle's deli, and just like that, I was in. Oh, busboy. 3 shifts a week to start, $10 an hour plus tips if the kitchen didn't swipe them first. It was a lifeline. Thin as it was, the struggle of those early days in New York, it's hard to overstate. You'd wake at dawn for an 8 a.m. audition, recite your to be or not to be to a room full of yawns, then slink up back to the streets feeling like you'd auditioned for invisibility instead. Rejection letters came like clockwork. You're not what we're looking for. Translation. You're too short for the romantic lead. Too distinctive for the angry man. Nights alone in that apartment, I paced the floor. 3 steps one way, 3 back, reciting lines from Chekhov to the cockroaches. The seagull! Nina's big breakdown. I'm a seagull. No, that's not it. I'm an actress. It was me, word for word, the ache of wanting to be seen not as a curiosity, but as a vessel for truth. And dwarfism? It amplified everything. Strangers stared, or worse, pretended not to. Dates were minefields. Charming at first, then the awkward silences about logistics. Friends drifted. Success breeds company. Struggle. Wheeze out. I remember calling my sister one night, voice cracking over the payphone. Becky, what if this is as good as it gets? What if the stage never won that? Simple words, but they lodged in me like shrapnel, so the restaurant became my anchor, for better or worse. Better because it paid, barely for the rent and the occasional headshot reprint. Worse because it was a slow erosion of the soul. Oh, shifts started at 11 a.m. for lunch, stretched to midnight for dinner on weekends. I'd arrive early, tie on that starched white apron that hung like a shroud, and dive into the rhythm, stack the glasses, polish the silverware, sweep the alley out, back where the dumpsters overflowed, with yet the kitchen was a sauna of sweat and garlic. Mario, the head chef, barking orders in broken English. Dinklage! Plates? No! While steam rose like fog from a Beckett set. Ow! Lunch rush was chaos. Suits from nearby offices, theater goers in rehearsal clothes, families wrangling kids who pointed and whispered. I'd weave through tables, balancing trays twice my size, dodging elbows that swung too low. Watch it, shortstop, some drunk would mutter, half joking, half not. I'd smile, grind my teeth. Invisibility was my armor now, not the dreamed of kind where you transform on stage, but the really greggy clutter being of a lord. Customers barely registered me. I was the shadow refilling water glasses, clearing half-eaten veal palm without a word. Tips, pennies for the leprechaun jokes, dollars if I was lucky and invisible enough. Evenings blurred into monotony's deep end. After the lunch crush, there'd be the dead hour, 2 to 5 p.m. when the place emptied and we'd huddle in the back, smoking illicit cigarettes out the fire escape, trading stories to kill time. Tony, the bartender, a lapsed actor from Jersey like me, would pour watered-down espressos and lament his last callback. They wanted a taller guy for the cop! Owing a height! We'd laugh bitterly, clink mugs, but inside, it hollowed you. I'd stare out at the alley, watching rain puddle on the bricks, thinking of Estragon and Godot. We can't go on like this. That's what you said yesterday. Yesterday, tomorrow, same shift, same script. Nights were the worst. Dinner service turned the restaurant into a zoo. Tourists in fanny packs mingling. Gracias for crazy. Power couples sealing deals over tiramisu. The occasional celebrity slipping in the side door, though never for me to wait on. Rosa reserved those for the pretty fit. I'd scrub plates in the dish pit, elbows deep in scalding soapy water, the clatter drowning out my thoughts. Or I'd bus tables, stacking chairs like a one-man stage crew, striking the set after a flop. The monotony wasn't just repetitive, it was existential. Who was I here? Not Peter Dinklage, dreamer. Not the kid who'd once directed a midnight production of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead in a Vermont. Just Dinklage, the reliable dwarf who didn't complain. Invisible, as I said. And the dream? I sneak breaks to scribble lines in a battered notebook, fragments of a play about a man who shrinks not in body but in spirit until he learns to expand his world. But mostly, I just zone out, replaying auditions gone wrong. Thank you. Next. The politeness of it like a velvet guillotine. I'd catch my reflection in the polished bar mirror, tired eyes, flour-dusted apron, and wonder if this was the compromise. Art by day in stolen moments, servitude by night. We had night. My parents called weekly. "How's the writing, Pete?" I'd lie. "Great, Ma! Sold a short story last week. Anything to keep the worry from their voices. It built up, that stuckness. Weeks turned to months. 6, 7, by the fall of 94. I'd wake with a knot in my gut, drag myself to the subway, emerge into the restaurant's fluorescent home like a moth to a bug. Physically, it wore me down. Backaches from lifting crates. Feet blistered in ill-fitting clogs, a persistent cough from the fry oil fumes. Emotionally, it was a slow bleed. I stopped going to open mic nights, stopped cold calling agents. The dream wasn't dead, but it was hibernating, curled tight against the winter of routine. I'd lie awake after shifts, the city's siren wail filtering through my window, and think of Chekhov's Uncle Vanya. What have I achieved in life? I have translated 2 books. And what else? What else indeed? One night, October, I think, crisp air sneaking under the doors. Everything teetered. It was a Thursday, double shift, lunch into dinner, no break. The lunch crowd had been brutal. A bridal party that left confetti and a $2 tip. A critic from the Times who sent back his risotto 3 times. "Too al dente, darling." And Mario screaming at me for a chip plate like I'd personally offended his nausea. By 4 p.m., I was a zombie, apron stained with marinara like abstract art gone wrong. Rosa tossed me a rag. "Clean booths, Dinklage." And smile customers smell misery. I nodded, mute, and got to it. The dead hour dragged. Tony and I played cards in the stockroom. Gin rummy, his cheat always one step ahead, while the radio crackled, "Sinatra, I got you under my skin." Ironic that. Under my skin was exhaustion, resentment bubbling like the pots on the line. "You ever think about quitting this dump?" Tony asked, dealing another hand. I shrugged. "Quit for what? Back to couch surfing?" He laughed, but his eyes said he knew. We all knew. Acting was a siren's call. Beautiful. Dinner ramped up slow, then hit like a freight train. Reservation book full. Kitchen backed up. A private party in the back room demanding. I was everywhere, bussing, refilling, dodging a waiter with a tray of veal saltimbocca that nearly scalped me. By 9 p.m., sweat plastered my shirt. My arms ached like I'd rode the Hudson. "One more hour," I told myself. "Oh, one more." Then collapse into bed with a beer and the leg show to pretend I was part of the world up there. That's when they came in, an elderly couple, mid-70s maybe, shown to a corner booth. She bust over them. "Mr. and Mrs. Rosenthal, your usual window," like they were royalty. I didn't know their story then, but regulars have a glow, don't they? He was slight. Wire-rimmed glasses perched on a bird-like nose, a tweed jacket, threadbare at the cuffs. She was rung under, pearls at her throat, hair a silver chignon that looked like it could weather a gale. They ordered light, minestrone, a shared plate of gnocchi, a bottle of Chianti she'd nursed like medicine. I was their server that night. Rose's rotation, bad luck or fate, who knows? Approaching the table felt like wading through molasses. Every bone protested. "Evening, folks. Can I start you with drinks?" My voice came out flatter than I meant. Autopilot engaged. He looked up. Really looked, not the quick scan most did, and smiled, lines crinkling like crepe paper. "A bold red, if you please, and for the lady." She patted his hand. "The same, dear. It's our anniversary, 52 years. 52! The number landed like a stone in still water. I mumbled congratulations, jotted it down, vanished to the bar. Tony poured the wine with his usual flourish. "Rosenthal's again. Old-timers. He's a retired professor. Lend us some." She was a dancer ballet. Back in the day. I nodded, uninterested, but carried the glasses back steady. "That's when it started. The unraveling of the knot, though I didn't see it then." They sipped. Chatted softly, her laughter like wind chimes, and I cleared the bread plates, regaled water without a wiggle. Invisible again, or so I thought. The soup arrived. I set it down, caught a snippet. "Remember that summer in the Catskills? You and your seersucker, me tripping over my own feet in rehearsals?" He chuckled. "Ah, but you danced like the stars had lent you their light." Puppetry, casual as breathing. I lingered a beat too long, napkin in hand, and he noticed. "Young man," he said, voice warm as hearth fire, "you look like you've carried the weight of the world today. Sit, if you can spare a moment." "The gnocchi can wait." I froze. "Sit! Servers didn't sit." But his eyes held no mockery, just that quiet command of someone who's earned his ease. Mrs. Rosenthal nodded encouragingly. "Please, Elias here loves an audience." Against every instinct, Rose's glare from across the room be damned, I perched on the booth's edge, awkward as a frog on a lily pad. "Long shift?" he asked, spooning broth. I exhaled, surprised at the rush of air. Long. Honesty slipped out unbidden. He tilted his head, appraising. "Tell me about it. What's the script tonight?" The script, not "what do you do," but the script, like he knew. I hesitated, then it spilled, the auditions, the rejections, the dream curdling into doubt. I'm an actor, or I was. Now, I'm just here, bussing plates, wondering if Godot's ever showing up. I never said it aloud, not like this. Mrs. Rosenthal's eyes softened. Beckett, waiting for Godot. Elias taught it for decades. The waiting isn't wasted, you know. It is the waiting that forges you. Elias leaned in, voice dropping conspiratorial. Precisely! Let me tell you a story, Peter. That's your name? Yes, from the ignorant tag. I nodded, transfixed. In 1947, I was you. Fresh from the war, lost a leg at Anzio. But that's another tale. Dreaming of lecturing on Joyce at Columbia. But life, it left. I washed dishes at a diner off Broadway. Same grind, same ghosts. One night, bone-tired, a customer, an old vaudevillian down on his luck, drops his fork. I pick it up, hand it back, and he says, "Kid, every prop on stage has a story. What's yours?" Simple question. But it cracked me open. Made me see I wasn't just washing dishes. I was learning patience, the rhythm of service, the art of listening when the world's shouting.
He paused, swirling his wine like a sage with a chalice.
That vaudevillian! He quoted Rilke, "Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." I carried those words through every rejection, every tenure, denial. And look at me now, Professor Emeritus, books on my shelf that students still read. But it started with that fork. That moment, small as a seed, but roots deep. I sat there, gobsmacked. I'd read Letters to a Young Poet in college, underlined the hell out of it, lived the questions now. But hearing it here, in this booth, sticky with spilled Chianti, from this man who'd walked through fire and fog, it resonated, not as ink on page, but as echo in my chest. Mrs. Rosenthal squeezed his hand. And me, I was the chorus girl who sprained her ankle opening night. A stagehand, nameless, invisible, bandaged it, whispered, "The show's not over till you say it is." That kindness, it got me back up, dancing into his arms eventually. She winked, and they shared a look that spanned oceans. The gnocchi arrived, then steaming pillows of potato dough that smelled like home I didn't have. I stood, dazed, murmuring thanks. "No!" Elias said, pressing a 20 into my palm tip for the ages. "Thank you for listening." Remember, the smallest acts, the quiet pivots, they're the plot twists. Commit to the dream, Peter, fully, or it commits to haunting you. Haunting. The word chilled and freed me. I pocketed the bill, cleared their plates later with hands that felt lighter, watched them leave. I scrubbed counters in silence, Tony's chatter a distant hum. That conversation replayed, not as anecdote, but revelation. The fork, the bandage, the water glass, refilled without fanfare. Weren't those the real auditions? Yes, a presence, not projection. I'd been waiting for Godot, but Godot was the wait itself, the monotony forging resilience, the invisibility teaching empathy, like Vanya's orchard, bearing fruit unseen until the harvest. I didn't quit that night. No grand exit, no tossed apron into the alley. But something shifted. The next day, I called my agent, first time in months, booked an audition for a workshop production of True West by Shepard. Oh, Sam Shepard, that raw howl of American underbelly. I nailed it. Got the part, the slide brother, all cunning and ache. Paid peanuts, but it was theater live, breathing. From there, momentum trickled, a film role in Living in Oblivion. Small but sharp sports work that paid actual bills. The restaurant faded to weekends, then go home. Rosa understood, even hugged me goodbye. You were never just busboy Dinklage. You had light. Transformation isn't lightning, it's dawn. Slow creep of gold over gray. That booth conversation, it was my fork, my bandage. It reminded me dreams demand full commitment, not half measures. I dove in, auditions daily, classes in HB Studio, writing monologues that bled personal. Rejection still came, but now it glanced off, not gutted. I built a career brick by stubborn brick, indies like The Station Agent, which let me direct my own story for once, theater revivals where Hade became asset, not hurdle. And then, oh, well, Westeros happened. Tyrion Lannister, a role that mirrored every invisibility I'd fought turning into power. But that's another story. One less. Looking back. And God, at 56, I look back plenty that restaurant Brian was no curse. It was curriculum. The struggle taught grit, the monotony, mindfulness, the catalyst, courage. We all have our boosts, our dropped forks, moments so unassuming they masquerade as ordinary, but they're the hinges on which lives swing. So here's my message, straight from this reflective heart. Be patient with the wait. There's purpose in the unseen. The long shifts, the quiet doubts, it all composts into growth. And those smallest moments, a word, a glance, a shared soup, they're the sparks. Nurture them. Commit fully. Because the dream doesn't die, it just waits for you to claim it. Life's not Godot's road. It's the road you pave, one pivot at a time. Thank you for listening. If this resonated, drop a comment, your own turning point maybe. Hit like if you're still waiting. Subscribe if you want more of these ramblings. Until next time, keep the light on, even when it's